I want you to meet my colleague, Dr. Hamilton.
And I'd like you to get the out of here.
We're not fans of this movie at all. Of this franchise at all. We don't like them at all.
Sure.
We were gone for quite a while. But no matter what happens next, the galaxy still needs its guardians.
Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of You Start It.
Get with the picture. Get. I'm gonna say it myself if you don't.
Well, you think you got the balls to say it? Go ahead. Just try to steal this line from me. Go right ahead and see if you got the you got the cojones to say the word.
Real.
How dare you?
And on this episode of Get Real, we talk about the latest addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Finally, Marvel is back in the right capacity. It's been a minute, but they're here and they're largin' and chargin'. We're talking about the finale. It is the grand finale of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And as you can see, I was just a little bit excited about this
is much.
This is a movie. I mean, the Guardians are behind us. We got the official poster, and I am wearing a Guardians baseball jersey. So there's a little bit of excitement, as you can understand. But yeah, we just saw it. Great film, I think. I think that's what we're going to say.
Agree.
Miss Pengrino, what did you think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
Well, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I love Guardians, period. So
yeah, I'm going to say that I am emotionally wrecked by this movie.
yeah, I did almost cry.
I did not.
I probably would have cried if it weren't for the fact that I knew you would make fun of me for crying.
Probably. This is probably
there's
true.
How dare you?
Which also makes me realize that I care more about animals than humans.
Yeah, like
for the reason that I did almost cry.
That's the thing, is it, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So I guess I'm just gonna go spoiler right off the bat. Spoilers. I'm just gonna put this out there. First things first, we're the realist. We're just gonna tell you firsthand. You know what? Skip to this time code if you don't want to know. None of the Guardians die.
No,
so
they don't.
There's that. Welcome back. Now,
welcome back.
But there were plenty of characters in the film that we enjoyed who ended up dying, and you were talking on the phone before we got on here and started doing this, and you said something, and I 100% agree. We care more about animals than we do humans.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kill as many humans as you want. Tony Stark's death in Endgame.
It's sad.
Captain America fast forwarding his life until he's like in his 90s at the end of Endgame. All of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of that had any kind of impact.
It was sad.
None of that had any kind of the impact that we had with this movie, with the characters that did die in it, and it
or
hit.
just the stories, the backgrounds of the stories got.
It's very dark. I think that's the first thing we need to say, is that this movie is not.
Yeah.
Marvel in general, and especially Guardians of the Galaxy, is kind of is kind of rooted in children entertainment. It's kind of aimed at kids. Goofy action, goofy characters. I would say don't take your kids to this movie.
Oh, probably not.
Don't take your kids. This movie is PG-13 like all of them are, but this movie is gut-wrenching. It's very mental torture-ish, and I would, and that in a good way. The movie is very entertaining, but it's anguish. It's mental anguish. That's what it is. Not mental torture, mental anguish in what happens in it. Oh, here we go, and it starts.
Wake up!
Oh, wouldn't you agree? I mean, you've not said anything.
I mean, yeah, you just kept going, but yeah.
Go ahead. What do you got? What do you got to say? Are you on this show too?
Apparently, I don't.
Oh,
I mean,
when
I
did
don't
that
really
start?
Who am I? What am I?
No, it definitely is. It gets your brain like, because it's kind of like a background stories for certain people, and it just hits all the feels.
Yeah, it's mainly a background story on Rocket. The movie focuses on Rocket Raccoon for the most part. It's kind of weird that this is like the conclusion of Guardians because it was really just a Rocket-centric film and not so much aimed at the entire Guardians. That was why it was kind of odd that this was the conclusion, because you think this would be like a middle act story where you learn the story of, or if Guardians was just going to be a continuing series, you would learn in this film, a Rocket story, and then the next one would be the next thing, you know, and because we already really know the backstory of everybody, of all the Guardians. We didn't really know Rocket's. We don't really know
Groot.
I was about to say we don't
really know Groot,
but we don't really care because Groot's just great. But you could tell because Groot is just he's a talking tree.
I am Groot.
He's a talking tree, and we all love him. That's all you need to know.
He is great.
But Rocket had to have had a backstory. You know, Drax had a sad backstory. You know, his family was killed. Quill was basically kidnapped by space ravagers and.
We don't know too much about Mantis either.
The Han Solo people, basically, like our galaxy's version of Han Solo. He was kidnapped by him, and then Nebula and Gamora, of course, are Thanos' daughters, and they blah blah blah. We know the story. Mantis, we do, because and that's something we're going to get into here in a little bit. We actually do know the backstory inadvertently. Me and you really didn't know the backstory, but they mentioned something in the film that I thought maybe we figured out in the last one, but we didn't.
Couldn't remember.
but we didn't. Well, we'll get into that. But just a brief history of my love of Guardians. May I, for a second?
Sure.
For Guardians, I know I steal the show most of the time when we do this.
Why are you the way that you are?
Because I have a lot to say. I always write things down.
Yeah.
As I get prepared.
But you see that sucker over there? 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds.
When in 2014, when it was announced that the next Marvel movie was going to be this group called Guardians of the Galaxy, I did not give two shits. Okay, I couldn't have cared less because who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? I've never heard. That's not Marvel. And Marvel is Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. And we did those movies. And Avengers. Right. Like at this point, we should be done. I thought we were closing in on being done because I didn't really follow the MCU until like really about maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. I just kind of went along. Oh, there's another Marvel movie. I didn't really realize that we were building up to something until a while. Yakety yak, yakety yak, yak, yak. So I was like, who Guardians of the Galaxy? Who's that?
Who are you?
Who you? Who are you? Who you? I don't know you. Who you?
I don't know.
And then the movie came out in theaters. I didn't see it. I was like, whatever. Then by happenstance, my parents got it for me on DVD, not even Blu-ray, glorious DVD, in 2014.
No special feature.
No, and.
I couldn't resist!
Christmas of that year, 2014, our first Christmas, as a matter of fact, and we watched it, and I loved it. Easily one of my all-time favorite movies, definitely my favorite Marvel movie at the time. Fast forward 3 years later, the sequel blew me out of the theaters. It was great as well, and then I became the uber fan that I am, and now this is it. So, I mean, that's the thing about Guardians of the Galaxy is it's very easy to forget that they are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. By itself, it's a fantastic story. The Guardians story is fantastic.
I forget how they fall into it, though.
Huh?
How they fall into the universe.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah.
Well, because of Gamora and Nebula. They're Thanos' daughters. That's why they
Thanos.
fall.
Right.
They fall.
Okay, I got
we
you.
just said that.
Sorry.
Rewind. Let's play back the footage.
Somebody touched my pee-pee.
See, I just said it. Where were you? Where are you? Are you on this show? You don't talk. You don't do nothing. Now you're not listening. Who are you? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Surprise, motherfucker.
But yeah, you forget that Guardians is a part of the MCU because they by themselves are a very great story. But what's ironic is they have probably the biggest, the biggest bloop, if you will, bloop, if you will, of the cinematic universe because of Gamora and Nebula, because they were Thanos' daughters, and so that whole first era, the Infinity era, was basically because of that family. So it's interesting, but they're a great franchise, and so that's why I love. This is why I love them to death. They became my favorites out of the MCU. If they could make they can make Guardians movies as long as they want, in my opinion.
You.
But yeah, it's like I said, even though this is great, it's not for kids. I would not take the family out to see this. This is more for the comic book nerds and for the diehard fans. If you think your kids could handle it, I would still wait until it's at streaming level or Blu-ray. I don't think that you should take them to see it in the theaters because it might be a little bit too much, because it's very dark.
It really is. I mean, a lot of Marvels are starting to get dark, though.
Well, they kind of have to,
feel like
because where do you go?
We're taking a turn where
Poopy.
getting serious.
Well, it's like, where do you go from here? You can't keep doing the campy, silly stuff all the time, because as we saw in Thor and Love and Thunder, that gets old after a while.
Yeah.
Well, you can't just keep repeating.
I
didn't really, I had my list of reasons why.
I know.
Go check out that episode if you want to see my reasons why. It almost became my 13th reason why, but
stop
it. The point is that Marvel has kind of hit that barrier where it's just like, okay, here's another one. It's the same plot. It's just different. It's just a different hero. Like Quantumanium, it was fine, but it was a bit of a slog. Wakanda Forever, unfortunately, we did not see. I have it now on Blu-ray, and we're going to watch it. We're going to watch Wakanda Forever, but I haven't watched it. I'm sure everyone says it was really good, so I'm sure it was good. But then you take it back, to like Love and Thunder. Doctor Strange, pretty good, but still kind of like...
I enjoyed
Doctor Strange, good. Like a Spider-Man, No Way Home.
What?
But then you take it back to 2021 itself, and they did not have very many hits. The Eternals was the worst Marvel movie they've ever done, followed by Black Widow. And so, Shang-Chi was good, but like those two were stinkers, those other ones. And so it's very, whereas Marvel was consistent, they're up and down now. And so it's like, where do you go with these movies, with these franchises? You got to go darker. You got to go. You can still have the humor. You can still do the fun things, but you got to make the stories more compelling now for it, because it's like Star Wars. Star Wars started out very bright and adventurous, and then Empire Strikes Back, and it was very dark. You found out the biggest
turn. Dun, dun, dun.
You find out one of the biggest secrets in film history.
I am your father.
It got dark, so you have to take it to that next level. And I think Marvel's trying to do that now. So
just a shocker they took it there with Guardians.
Of all the franchises,
all the franchises, that's the one you're gonna.
Of all the teams, if all the teams, they went with Guardians.
Legit, like the comedy team. But I guess because Gamora had left and everything was kind of a show going into it. I guess that would have been the best one to go at that time.
Wake up!
But it was great. But like they took all the chances. This is the very first Marvel movie. I don't know if you knew this, that had the first F-bomb. It was the first movie. It was when they're getting into the old-fashioned car, and Nebula can't open the door.
Push the button. It looks like you're pushing the keyhole.
The what?
There's a button under the handle. Press that in.
Okay. Now what?
Open the fucking door.
He drops the
I
F-bomb.
did not pay attention to that, to be honest. I did not hear it.
It's the first F-bomb ever dropped in a Marvel movie. So
that's how you know it's serious.
Well, but
it dropped an F-bomb.
But I'm saying is they're making it edgy, and again, they're doing it with Guardians. It's like, this is the last one. Let's just go for it, all in. Let's go balls in with this one. But like let's not go that far.
Why I like to be nude.
some of the reasons why it was super dark. Will Poulter was in this movie. He played a gold man. He was the son of the gold lady from the beginning of the last film. And there's a scene where they have one of the Ravagers that Gamora works with, and she's like, "Tell us where."
Tell him we mean business.
Tell us where they are, and she's like, "No." And he's like, "All right, Adam." That's Will Poulter's character's name. Adam, show him we mean business. And he's supposed to just like hurt him a little bit or scare him. He burns him to death, and it just sees his charred body sitting in a chair, charred. Not even like dust or like a comical skeleton, like charred remains.
Yeah.
And his poor little pet is there looking at him after he died. There's so much animal love in this movie.
Yeah, it's real hard for
But yeah, like there's a charred body there. And then there's the scene where, because the main bad guy in this movie is called the High Revolutionary. He's basically created a second world, a second Earth, and it has like humanoid creatures mixed with breeded with animals, and they are the inhabitants of like a 1950s era like world.
Yeah.
Like cute little neighborhoods, and they have children and everything running around, and the Guardians land on the planet, and they're the aliens to these weird looking creatures. It's very Star Trek-y. I thought, that's very Star Trek. I like that.
I think we shall find we have much in common. And much that is not in common. An opportunity to learn from one another.
But yeah, and so you for a brief few minutes you meet all these like cute little like animal human characters, and then they get obliterated in a mass
probably a spoiler bomb.
Spoiler! Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't yell spoiler alert. Spoiler alert!
I'm a dumbass.
They all get completely mangled.
Yeah.
Or not mangled. It's like an Armageddon. The revolutionary destroys his world to rebuild it in a very godlike way.
Because he's tried multiple times to build this world.
Yeah.
And it is just not happening the way he wants, because ultimately he is trying to create this utopian society. And as we all know, if you allow your creatures to have free will, that's just not possible to have a utopian society, because eventually something's going to take a turn. Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah. And
but he's trying to accommodate for that.
And I don't think we're 15 minutes already into the episode. We haven't discussed the plot of the
episode.
No,
there we go.
Let's talk about that. So, what did you discuss the plot?
Really, this is, like we said, it is a Rocket-centric film. Rocket does get injured, and the whole point is the Guardians trying to find the creator, because to fix him, they have to have this, like, basically this override code. Because he's got a special machine inside of him that, like, if you try to fix him, he'll basically, like, explode.
Right. The story is that the High Revolutionary has been for years trying to build a new Earth, a second Earth, a counter Earth with creatures and people of his making that, like you said, are perfect, utopian perfect. So obviously they go through a lot of experiments, and one of them was taking animals from Earth and Frankensteining them into these
intelligent beings,
and that's where we meet Rocket. Rocket was one of them, and so we learn this backstory while Rocket is in a coma due to the fact that he was attacked by Adam, one of the gold people who are working for the Revolutionary to bring him back. Because Rocket apparently is super smart. I didn't realize he was that intelligent.
Yeah.
He's insanely intelligent and knows all these formulas and how to make the perfect society and all of this.
So the evolutionary, what is it?
Evolutionary.
Yeah, okay. Hold on.
Revolutionary. Sorry. I think we're calling them Revolutionary.
Revolution! He wants Rocket's brain because something about Rocket allows him to still think, to be this higher being in a lesser being's body, I guess you could say.
Right.
And still, like, create new things. And he's the only one who's ever been able to do this, and he can't figure out why. So he wants Rocket's brain to be able to figure out why.
Right.
So that he can fix his beings going forward. So the Guardians go to hunt this guy down to get the information for Rocket to save Rocket, while in the meantime learning all about his plans and what he is doing and trying to stop him.
And it's It's horrifying because and this is where we're talking about how we love animals more than humans, because there were tons of humans that died in this movie, and I couldn't care less. None of them were, again, spoiler, none of them were the Guardians, but there were
none of them were very important characters, but
plenty of humans got killed.
Humans
I didn't
died.
care. I didn't care. But no, in the process of learning Rocket's backstory, we get introduced to these cute animals that were mixed with, they were Frankenstein. You had a little seal named what was her name? Lila, and she had robot hands, and you had a big walrus who had wheelchair legs, and then you had a rabbit that was given robot spider legs,
and like this
like thing over their metal mouth, and they were all adorable and so sweet. And then Rocket,
and spoiler,
and then spoiler alert! In the thumbnail, it's going to say spoilers everywhere. Rocket realizes that the Revolutionary is not going to keep people or creatures like them alive, especially.
They thought all of these creatures that they have tested on so far would get to go to this new world that he created,
called Counter Earth.
They do not. They were just experiments.
They were just experiments.
To which they will be burned and or killed and or whatnot.
And so once he realizes this, he tries to get everyone out, and they try to escape. And unfortunately, all of his friends get killed. And over the course of the film, you fell in love with these creatures because they were so sweet. They had childlike minds. It was like killing kids. And it just, when they get killed, Rocket just gets so upset. You're just so upset with him. And so right there, you're already on a roller coaster of emotions.
Broken. I was broken.
You're broken.
I was broken so hard because these other animals have befriended Rocket because he was experimented on when he was a baby raccoon.
Yeah.
So that too, like, you thought he was already an adult. No, he grew into this. He was a baby when they did this, and so they befriended him, and they like grew with him, and then they wound up getting killed.
And it was just so.
It was so sad.
It was so sad. And then towards the end of the movie, again, spoiler. You think Rocket's gonna die, and he does die for a minute, and then his friends in like the afterlife encourage him to go back, and then Chris Pratt, Peter Quill, does this like he just yells in anger and pain when they lose Rocket for a minute. It's just
God, it hurts so bad.
It was so just.
They were like, you can join us, but now is not your time. Go back, and you're like wanting to brawl over freaking a raccoon.
Exactly. I almost started crying. I told Miss Pengrino at the end of the movie.
He never cried.
I was like, this Marvel's going to make me freaking cry over a CGI raccoon, and I'm going to be pissed about it. But my God, yeah. And then, so yeah, that's the backstory. That's the plot of the movie. But when the Revolutionary kills his little furry friends, Rocket just completely obliterates his face, and then that
shreds it.
And then that's why throughout the movie you realize how he looks really weird. His face is kind of stretched back. Quill even mentions this. He calls him this, and he looks like RoboCop in the film. He looks like RoboCop because his face is stretched back. What was left of his face is like stretched back, and it's a mask basically put on to like whatever he has left. At the end of the movie, that mask gets ripped off, and you see just like a Evil Dead looking character, just like a mangled face and eye hanging out,
like,
and it's
an eyeball.
Yes,
jaw,
and he's
like
gurgling blood, and it's so. This is Guardians of the Galaxy. This is Guardians.
Look what you did to me. Well, you killed my friend.
Yeah, that's not Guardians of the Galaxy. That's not MCU.
Well, it is this.
It is now, baby.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's what made it so different. It was so dark. It was so intense. So many intense things, but damn it, I loved it. It was so good. It was the perfect finale to this franchise. It really was. And they all walk away happy, doing their own things. And we won't spoil that because we've already spoiled enough. But like, it just was a perfect way to end the franchise. And can I just say that the Revolutionary was probably the best damn villain the MCU's ever had. Do you agree?
Why do you say that?
Well, because he's not hell-bent on revenge. He's not looking to destroy the Earth.
I don't need another speech by some impotent whack job whose mother didn't love him, rationalizing why he needs to conquer the universe.
I'm not trying to conquer the universe. I'm perfecting it.
You know, he wasn't looking to destroy anybody. He wasn't looking to destroy the Avengers or try to take over anything. No, he just like, I just want the raccoon's brain, which is bad, but like, you know, that's all he was looking for. He didn't want to hurt anybody else, and he was just like, I just need the brain so I can continue making these new Earths for, you know, and he never talked, like I said, never talked about revenge. He very specifically explained what he was trying to do, and he was intense and he was scary. Like I've never looked at really any of the MCU villains as scary. Like he was off his rocker in a big way, and I was here for it. And that's why I really liked him a lot as a villain. Thanos,
he was like that true mad scientist.
Yes, that's what he was. He was a quintessential mad scientist, and I loved that. He was Dr. Frankenstein, and in a more advanced age.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
And so I think that was what was interesting. Thanos is the only other villain that really could compare to him. And I like him better than Thanos even. Your thoughts?
I don't know.
Stop tape for discussion.
You don't know how you feel?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel. They all the villains seem about the same. They're villains.
I mean, true, but that's the problem with the MCU is that
I guess he was a different kind of villain.
Well, you think about the whole first phase, you know, leading up to the Infinity War and Endgame and all of that. And, you know, everyone had, for some reason, their own individual villains, but it all still led up to Thanos, you know? It's like, well, why did we have these movies where you had to fight individual bad guys if it was leading up to
Thanos.
To this one guy. And you know, and that was the problem, was the movies were very villain of the week, as they call it, you know. It's like a TV show. It's villain of the week. And Guardians was the same way. You had Ronan in the first one, you had Ego, Kurt Russell, who was Chris Pratt's dad in the movie, you know. You had those, and they were just your typical maniacal mustache twirling villains. This was so different because it was just so creepy, and it was so, like you said, a mad scientist. And mad scientists in films, when done right, are very, you know, very accurate and very creepy.
Well, it's like it's because they're trying to technically better the Earth, but they will do anything and to better it anyone for any reason. Like there's nothing to stop that. Everybody is inferior, and he will stop at nothing till he gets the superior.
Exactly.
It's just not possible.
Exactly. And so that's just what made it so interesting, was that he was just so hell-bent on just doing what he had to do to create something. And again, the only other villain that could really compare was Thanos, because Thanos was basically doing the same thing, but on Earth. For this guy to not give any care in the world about our Earth, and instead creating a new world that wasn't going to hurt anybody, the only thing that separated him from us, the only thing to connect him to us, to our love, was he was trying to take Rocket. Yeah. Had we never met Rocket, and he took Rocket, no one would have cared. You know what I mean? No one would have cared. That's the thing. So that's what makes him interesting, is that he became such a compelling villain in a universe that is only loved because we've seen it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He only became a villain because we love the person he was fighting against.
Exactly. It's still not great what he was doing, but if we didn't know Rocket, would you have cared? Would you have cared? Sound off in the comments. Probably. Exactly. You don't even sound off in the comments. So what do you? I think one thing's for sure. It was probably the most, well, I would say all three Guardian movies, but this one especially was one of the most beautifully shot films. The scenery, the cinematography, it was beautiful, especially the records place, the big spongy anus place that they had to go to when their colorful jumpsuits.
I'm sorry, that part was hard for me to watch.
I loved it.
It was so hard for me to watch. They had to go to
it.
Ow.
Ow.
Hello. They had to go to this place called ErgoCorp. ErgoCorp is this space center, if you will, that grew from organic material. And so it's just like, it's a cross between like heart skin and brain skin and epidermis, and it
was so great.
Oh, gross.
You were right.
It was really gross for me.
I loved it, and I loved that visual, that visual weirdness and ew of it. And then you go to Nowhere, the planet where it all starts, and it's just like a back alley looking place. It's kind of dingy looking, but it's their home.
I did not realize it was in a giant skull, which I like.
I didn't know that either. Again,
Sorry, spoiler?
No.
Okay.
You mentioned something else that I thought I knew, but we didn't know. We're gonna get to that. We're almost to the end here. But yeah, it was visually gorgeous. It was so well shot. Again, the last movie that I thought looked that good in the MCU probably would have been Guardians Volume 2, but maybe I'm being a little biased because they're all pretty visually.
They're all about
it's no DC. It's not like a Zack Snyder DC movie where everything's just in the dark and you can't see anything. No, it's always well done, but it was just so visually gorgeous that you don't want to take your eyes off the screen. Of course, I saw you wincing a few times because it got too bright.
So bright.
There's a few bright moments in the thing, but like it's worth it because it looks so good. You want it to be that way.
Yeah, but my eyes are sensitive when it comes to real bright like that.
I know, but
like sitting here with this ring light in my eyeballs, it kind of hurts a little bit.
You are a sad, strange little man.
I thought it looked great.
Look great. It's really great.
It's great.
Really
it's great. It's really great. Last couple of things we've gone over a lot longer
so let's wrap it up.
Well, there's a lot.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up. I want to know your thoughts on this because I was pretty happy about it. I'm glad that they didn't give Quill and Gamora a Ross and Rachel ending. That's what I call it, a Ross and Rachel ending. Where,
you mean like bring them back?
Where they end up together. It's like, they've been all over they liked each other, then they didn't like each other, then they fell in love, and then they broke up because, well, of course, obviously Gamora died.
And she forgot about him.
Well, then brought back from another timeline. So that can cause a lot of issues, as you can imagine. But no, and then she doesn't give any care about him in the world. And I'm glad it's spoiler. I keep telling you.
She appreciates him, but she's not like in love with him.
But at the end of the movie, she appreciates, but they didn't get together.
No.
That's what I'm saying. How did you feel about that? Because I thought that was perfect. I'm glad that they didn't get together at the end of the movie.
That was kind of hard for me.
Why?
Because I enjoyed them as a couple.
Well, you're an old softie.
That's hurtful. I enjoyed them as a couple, but I would have also been satisfied if he got with Nebula.
That was never going to happen, and you know it.
I know, but I would have been.
That was never going to happen, and you know it.
But like the way she looked at him when he was drunk and she tucked him into bed.
Yes, they probably did have the hots for each other, but they were never going to actually act on it.
I would have been happy with him being with either, but the fact that it was just, I don't know. I guess it kind of makes sense that the spoilers all wind up doing their own thing legitimately, their own thing, taking care of themselves. I don't know. I don't like the separation.
I do. I think it was properly well done because there was a bit of a glitch because James Gunn I think had all of these written out, if I'm not mistaken. He had all of this planned out in his brain of how it was going to work, and then Kevin Feige and everybody stepped in because they were going to do Infinity War and Endgame, and he wasn't. I don't think he was kept in the loop exactly how that was going to work, and so I don't think he didn't expect Gamora to die.
So a lot of the things that I was planning on dealing with, I dealt with through what the Russos did, in which they called me up and said, we're thinking about this. Does this work? Can you work with this? And I went, God, yeah, I really can.
I think they had a conversation about that. I think he was okay with it, but it's like, how do you write that in the next film?
Right.
So I think he had some sort of, he didn't have a say in it, but he was like, okay, that's fine. I'll rework it somehow. And so I think he probably thought they were originally they were going to end up together, but because of all the madness of the Infinity War and everything, they switched it up a little bit. And so this is the next outcome. This was the actual outcome of it, was that they don't get together. But I think that worked better because it just showed, because everybody's happy. I'm not sure if Gamora would have been happy with this. Gamora definitely wouldn't have been happy with Peter Quill.
Yeah.
And Peter Quill would have been miserable because she wasn't happy. So it's nice to see them disembark on their own thing. I think that's the way it is. And you mentioned, they all go their separate ways, and it's the perfect passing of the torch, because this movie, it comes back around 360. You think it's weird that this goodbye movie is about Rocket, but it all comes back around because Rocket becomes the leader of the new Guardians of the Galaxy at the end of the movie. So
Capitan.
It's a nice roundup. I enjoyed that too. But yeah, I'm glad they didn't get together. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. There were some things mentioned in this film, and again, I wrote them down, that I was not aware of, or I thought maybe I was aware of from the previous film. I just couldn't remember. But no, it turns out we didn't know. The fact that Quill and Mantis are brother and sister.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I thought when I heard that in the theater, I was like, maybe we learned that in Volume 2. I couldn't remember. So I just dismissed it. Why?
You know his dad slept around with a lot of people, so that was really possible. But...
True. But why? And then why were they on Nowhere, the big Skullhead planet? Did they land on that in the last movie, or in Infinity War? No. And also Cosmo the talking dog.
Yeah, where did Cosmo come from?
The breakout star of the movie. All of this was introduced. All of this was mentioned in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh!
That came out, I can't remember, was it this past Christmas or last Christmas?
I didn't even know that existed.
It's on Disney Plus. Yeah, it's.
Well, now we'll have to watch it.
Yeah,
I'm a little curious.
It looks really great. We didn't watch it though.
We'll have to.
But apparently all of that gets established. Cosmo, we meet Cosmo for the first time. Like I said, he's a talking dog in the film, or she. I guess she's a talking dog or whatever. And then we find out that Mantis and Peter Quill are siblings.
Your father, Peter. He is my father too.
That's the greatest Christmas gift I could ever get.
And this is how they end up on Nowhere. All of that gets explained in the holiday special. So they tied that in to the actual MCU instead of it just being like a separate fun thing, or not so fun thing, like another franchise's holiday special. That's a whole nother story. But so that's where that comes from. So Ms. Pengrino, would you recommend Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
Well, duh. Of course.
Do we even need to do this part?
No. Of course we recommend it.
Of course we recommend it. Again, I would say don't take the kids. I would say if you think they can handle some of the darker tones. I mean, it's not like a Hellraiser or Exorcist movie or anything like that. It's just it's darker than past Marvel movies. It's definitely 10 times darker than any of the other Guardians movies. Yeah. So if you think
it's intense,
it's an intense film.
I would say probably definitely 13 and above.
Yeah, and because I didn't. The movie had a happy ending, but I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel bad. I was just a roller coaster of emotions at the end of the movie. I was just like, I'm like nauseous. I don't know how to feel. It was a good nauseous. I don't know that's a thing, but it was a good nauseous. I felt great. The movie overall was great. But I felt a little off from it. And I think it was just because it was just such a up and down crazy
roller
time.
Coaster.
But 100% you need to go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. See it in the theater too. Don't take the kids, but yourself go see it in the theater. You will really enjoy this. I think it's going to be probably if not the biggest Marvel film, it's definitely going to be the biggest Guardians film, and probably one of the top films of the year.
Probably.
Without a doubt. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's the show, Ms. Pengrino. We're done.
Boop.
We're done.
Goodbye!
Say I'm gonna go one of these. There I go. I'm going.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm going. I'm going. Here we go.
You're not going anywhere.
End of the show.
Okay,
I'm leaving.
I'm push stop.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Still going, still leaving. Maybe go watch some more Marvel movies. Maybe watch the other Guardians.